Trustee Hastings and Trustee Williams. We now have quorum.
Thank you.
Actually,
Thank you, everyone, for attending. Because everybody's time is precious, we will get going. So I'd like to call to order the Bylaws Review Subcommittee for Monday, June 23rd. Please stand if you're able for the land acknowledgement. We acknowledge we're hosted on the lands of the Mississaugas of the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Wendat. We also recognize the enduring presence of all First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples. Thank you so much. We have no delegations. Are there any declarations of possible conflict of interest? Oh, sorry. I missed that one. Approval of the agenda. Debbie and Dee, will you?
I will move.
Thank you very much, Debbie.
Yes, yes, Trustee Williams, second.
Thank you very much. I'll be coming to the tag team of the two Ds during the meeting. Appreciate it. Dan isn't online yet. Okay, so all in favor of approval? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone
Aye.
against? No, then we're going to go for it. I've already thanked Vitaly and Leola are in the room. Shams is here doing the IT and Denise is here. And and Bella is also here. So we appreciate the work by staff supporting us. So we're going to go 5.1, revisions to board bylaws. Please go ahead, Vitaly.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you, we are presenting today the revised board bylaws, the document that was discussed at the previous bylaws review subcommittee meeting. So in the report, in the cover report, and I don't know, Bella, if you will be able to put the report and the bylaws on screen, that would be helpful. Thank you. So in the cover report, you have the list of key changes that were made to the bylaws. They're all highlighted here. And then you have attached the bylaws with track changes. Since the committee had a chance to review and discuss most of the revisions at the last meeting, perhaps we can briefly go through revisions that were made after the last bylaws review subcommittee. So those will be the additional changes that we made after the last discussion.
I appreciate that, but I also appreciate, because we want to finalize this, I'm thinking we should go over section by section.
Okay.
And if anyone has a concern or a comment, to make it clear section by section. And that way we can cover off, there might have been some second sober thoughts on some of the previous ones, but we can start the sections by what changes were made between the last meeting and this meeting. Colleagues online, does that sound good for you? And I think I'll just go reverse orders. I'll go, Deborah, Debbie, and then myself, and keep reversing the orders. Dennis, of course, you're online, so if you want to participate, please just let us know. And because we'll try to go through this and make our best possible recommendations to our colleagues.
Absolutely. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Does that sound good to those online?
Yes, that works.
Yeah,
Thank
that
you very
works.
much.
Thank you.
Great. So section 1 in general comments, Vitaly, and I'll just say Vitaly, Mr. Plotnikov, so please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So in section 1, we updated, revised definitions. And after the last discussion, you can see that we introduced definition of drawing lots on page 13 of the agenda. It is mentioned in the bylaws, and there was a suggestion that perhaps we should define that.
Wonderful. Does anyone have any comments on the definitions section, section 1, the general? Debbie, any comments?
Much clearer and incorporates my previous feedback. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dee, any comments?
It works for me as well. I think it's fine the way it is. And it also, I think it says it includes. So it could include, newer technologies for random selection.
Thank you very much. I do have a comment, so I'll just informally pass the chair to UD. I noticed that on page 16, receive, 16 of the agenda, or page 12 of the bylaws, receive has been completely taken out. There is nothing that says for information in the definitions. So my question to us is, do we need to define if we're replacing receive with information, do we need to define, because we mention information in the bylaws, but I'm wondering, taking receive out, I'm wondering if we need to add something about information and just mentioning that it's not for trustee vote, however you want to formalize it. But that was my only comment.
Madam Chair, as you correctly mentioned, we included a provision for information. So perhaps once we take a look at that, we'll decide if indeed, in addition to that, we'll need a
Wonderful.
definition.
Thank you very much. I just noticed that. Seeing no other comments on section 1, let's move to section 2. Vitaly?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we're in section 2. Just looking at the revisions we discussed in 2.1.1. This is alignment with the legislation. In terms of new changes, I don't think we included anything else. So everything that we looked at last time
Right.
is in this section.
Thank you very much. Deborah or Dee, do you have any comments on section 2?
It's trustee here. I don't see anything. I don't see anything of concern for me. It looks like it incorporates our feedback and input.
Thank you so much. Debbie?
And nothing from me.
Thank you so much. Let's go to section 3.
Section 3, organizational meeting, through you, Madam Chair. So 3.1.1, we discussed that. That was clarified as per previous decision of the board. Section 3.4.3, the vote for election of board and standing committee chairs and vice chairs will be conducted by secret ballot. I think that was the request of the committee last time.
Correct.
We included that clarification.
Thank you. Colleagues, anything further on section 3?
Nothing from me, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you through you, Madam Chair. It looks good to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Section 4, please carry on.
Section 4, through you, Madam Chair, committee structure and composition. So in terms of revisions that were made after last discussion is section 4.5.4. It's planning and priorities committee mandate. And staff is recommending certain changes to that section and also to following sections with regard to FBAC and GPC mandates.
Can we just stop there for a minute? Because I did offer colleagues comments electronically, those that couldn't be here today. And one of the comments back was, why would facility and property matters be moved out of planning and priorities? Because they affect the entire board and not just a committee.
Through the chair, if I can respond to that. So in light of the in-person requirements, in light of the fact that we have board Committee of the Whole, and Planning Priorities Committee, which is a meeting of all trustees, which likely would be interpreted as a committee of the whole. That means trustees will have to attend in person for meetings of these three types of committees. What I thought we would attempt to do is to shift some of the mandates over to other committees to reduce the number of in-person attendance required and really focus Planning Priorities Committee. So really entirely up to the Bylaw Review Subcommittee on how you want to do this. But that's the number one objective, to reduce the number of in-person required by trustees.
If colleagues, with your indulgence, I just want to push back. There will be a Planning and Priorities Committee meeting though. And I understand why professional development could be moved to GPC, but I believe Planning and Priorities, if it remains all members of the board, then I think Facility and Property matters should stay. I don't think it belongs in FBEC with just 6 people there. But I look forward to hearing from my other colleagues. I'll go to Debbie first.
Thank you, Chair. I think I would share the same concern, especially with boundary changes. I think if these come through FBEC, it's also very possible that the local trustee might not necessarily be a member of that committee. So I think about the challenges that poses. And then, matters related to trustee and trustee services, I believe, that should also come to a group of everybody. I think we went back and forth a little bit on what constitutes, a committee of the whole. And I was left with the impression that we could still have a planning and priorities committee that didn't necessarily constitute a committee of the whole, and then would not necessarily have that same attendance requirement. Maybe staff can just reconfirm if my interpretation is not correct.
Through the chair, we did seek a legal opinion. And so any committee in which all trustees are members, that would be considered a committee of the whole. One of the things to consider again is there's no requirement to meet on a monthly basis. So what some other school boards do is for certain committees, I can tell you at TLC, some of the committees don't meet monthly. If there's no agenda item, there's nothing to talk about. So something to think about, and just maybe shifting the way in which we've always done things. I have no concerns. And I think the comment made about boundary changes makes sense because it will affect multiple wards at the same time.
Thank you very much. So let's hear from Deborah before we confirm there's consensus. Dee?
Yeah, thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. My recollection and understanding about what we were doing here with planning and priorities was to move it away from being a committee of the whole, having it open to all trustees. I don't know, through you, Madam Chair, to staff, if that was looked at, from compliance with the Education Act, advice from governance.
So up to membership of up to 22 members?
Exactly.
Through the chair, I think if we have something less than 22, I think it's easy to do that. The issue is when it's 22, automatically all 22. I think that's how it's defined, if I'm not mistaken, in the bylaws.
But it could be quarterly.
It could be a quarterly meeting,
Right,
for sure.
And
yeah.
I personally have, oh, sorry, I'm just talking out of turn. I apologize. It's so hard when nobody else is in the room. I really
It's like a
do
discussion.
It's more like a discussion. I'll hold my comments until Deborah's finished.
Yeah. So let us take that back on the up to 22. That means some trustees can elect not to participate. We'll have to kind of work with Denise Joseph Dowers on any potential impact else in other committees and so on. But we're going to try our very best.
Or it's 20 and the chair and the vice chair ex officio.
that is a nice combination that we didn't think about. So obviously there are some ways in which we can do that. So I think that's a good way of.
If I can pass the chair to one of you and just make my comments, I personally have zero issue that all trustees have to attend a committee meeting in person. I think it really will help with the functioning of the board. So I'm not at all concerned. I personally would not want to change planning and priorities from being all trustees of the board and meeting in person. But I agree that it doesn't necessarily have to be scheduled. It could be scheduled bi-monthly as opposed to every month cycle. I don't know, staff would have to think about that in terms of what would come to it. But I personally think we have suffered a great deal because we do not have a lot of people in a room during conversations, and the relationships on the board are get more fractured because of that. So I personally would want to keep it as is. But again, if you could check back on what my colleagues have asked in terms of some other options, maybe we can revisit this one more time to see what the possibilities are. And you could check like go back on agendas and see, is it possible that there's nothing that has to be monthly in terms of timing, and maybe it's less frequent than the regular standing committees.
Thank you.
Debbie has a hand up.
Debbie, please go ahead.
I'll just jump in on that new thought that's introduced. Very much in favor. I would love to see the full board at a less frequent cycle. I think the mere fact that the multi-year strategic plan reporting comes to this committee is important enough that all members should be there, should be involved.
Thank you for that comment. So staff will undertake to see if all trustees less frequently, or 20+2 as it is now. But because of the in-person requirement, it is good to make sure we're really clear on that. Vitali, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On mandate, though, I understand the preference is to keep facilities and property matters under PPC. Matters related to trustees and trustee services as well.
I believe so.
And professional development for members of the board.
I'm easy on that one. Do my colleagues have a comment on whether professional development for members of the board can go to GPC or not? Debbie or Dee?
It's D. I'm okay with it going to another committee. GPC sounds fine.
Thank you.
I'm not married either way. I think we could also judge by what agendas look like over the course of the year.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Section 5. Anything? I know I have some comments on section 5, but Vitali, was there anything you wanted to introduce us to in section 5?
Section 5, through you, Madam Chair, board and committee meetings, rules and procedures. Section 534, we enhanced language on the participants' conduct during the meetings.
Thank you.
542. This is legal clarification. You see at the end of this section, we indicated that closed private session must be conducted when the subject matter involves investigation related to Ombudsman Act. So it's not may be closed or may be in private, but must be. So we just made that clarification here.
Thank you.
And I believe 5 512.3. Just a second. 512.3. Slight revision on the materials. Trustees who require meeting materials in accessible format will communicate the request.
Excellent. And then you've got the reports for information 512.9, which is new.
512.9, exactly. Madam Chair, so reports for information, items for
It's really
information
the meat, eh?
are included in agenda packages for information only and are not presented by staff in a meeting.
Okay, let's just stop there because there's been quite a few comments. Any comments, please, colleagues, from 5.1 through to 5.12. Not, let's leave 5.12.9 for the time being. Any comments on 5 up until 5.12.9? Debbie or Dee?
I don't have any.
Okay. Dee?
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. I don't see anything, I
Okay.
don't see anything in that section, no.
Thank you very much. Then I'm going to pass the chair, please, to one of you. 5.7.6, committee attendance and vacancies. So there is nothing in the bylaws right now about a board member vacancy at all. So every year or every term, we have been faced with the possibility of having to decide whether there should be an election or an appointment. And I'm just wondering if we should consider putting something in the bylaws about a board member vacancy. And while I'm on that topic, we talk about if a committee loses membership, but we don't talk about what's going to be happening next week when a member of the board seeks to take another position and goes on leave, for the lack of a better wording. So I understand that there is nothing in the Education Act about taking a leave of absence from your position. I know we have maternity and paternity leaves. We've built that in, but not for the purposes of, you know, taking another position or trying for another position. So I guess my question is, should there be something in the bylaws on that? And if there's something in the bylaws on that, do we need a legal opinion about what the power of the board's bylaws to be binding? Or do we just leave it silent? Because I think we have to say something, because it does happen fairly regularly. And what's happened now is we've just received that leave, like we don't approve a leave. Should we be approving something, maybe not calling it a leave? And because we don't approve the leave, it means somebody that's on leave can still come and vote.
Mhm.
And I guess my question is, if that's what we're doing, we should say we're doing that. If that's not what we're doing, we should say we're doing that. So we're clear in the bylaws. So I'd just like, through you, Madam Chair, to put it to staff.
Through the chair, I agree. We probably should have clear written information on how to make a request, the impact of that request, and your duties and responsibilities, or your authority after it's been approved. We can take that back and develop something. However, I think it might be better suited as a governance procedure as opposed to a bylaw.
Okay.
Only because bylaws, we try to make it focused on meetings as opposed to rules, essentially the rules for attendance. Because I think there's a bigger issue than it is whether they can vote while they're on leave. I think it's much bigger than that.
Right, but there, sorry, through you, Madam Chair, to staff, there is nothing here. This talks about a committee if they're absent. It doesn't talk about a chair of the board or a vice chair of the board if they're absent. So should that not be in bylaws, that if a chair of the board is absent, it automatically goes to the vice chair? If the vice chair of the board is absent, it automatically goes to the chair of a standing committee? I mean, I think there should be something mentioned so that, so it's not based on personalities of people, but it's based on like a hierarchy of leadership in a sense. At least that's my thoughts. And I don't know if my colleagues have other thoughts, but I just, I think about the things we faced and we have nothing to go to tell us what to do. So I just think it might be helpful.
And through the chair, anything that relates to a board meeting or a committee meeting, I should say, should definitely appear in the bylaws. So maybe it's both.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Debbie or I think Deborah, your hand is up.
Yes, thank you, through you, Madam Chair. I agree, like there should be something that gives some kind of clarity and guidance in the bylaws on those vacancies. And similar to how it's stated here with regard to the pregnancy and parental leave, it refers to a policy. So, you know, I think this could give like a guideline, but depending on what staff comes back with as advice, perhaps a policy or procedure that gives some more detail in the implementation of how that would look.
Thank you very much. So now I think we're on.
Do I get a turn or I don't?
Oh, sorry, Dennis, I didn't see your hand. I apologize. Please go ahead.
I don't think we should be messing with this part. It works quite well the way it is. It really does. This is not an automatic thing. We have voices for that reason where we come in and we talk about something, and it's not a case of saving time. I don't think we should be messing with that particular item.
Thank you. I don't think we're messing with anything. I think we're trying to have clarity.
That's a mess.
Well, thank you for your opinion. Okay, now we're on to 5.12.9. Vitaly, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. 5.12.9 items for information are included in agenda packages for information only and not presented by staff in a meeting. So that's the subsection that we included. It's a new section, and that's connected to the decision to remove concept of motion for receipt.
Okay, if we can just stop there. I know I have some comments, but let's go to Debbie or Dee first. Anyone have some thoughts?
Nothing immediate on this one for me.
Wonderful. Then if I can pass the chair to you. So for me, this would mean no receipt. They would show up in an agenda, but now you're removing the opportunity to even ask questions. Because that's what it says. During the meeting, questions and discussion will be held till the end of the meeting as required is crossed out. So my question is, I support absolutely for information, removing receipt altogether. It's just for information. But I'm not comfortable with not even being able to ask a question about it. So I'm wondering why staff wanted that crossed out.
Through the chair, our really focus was on the presentation, whether it's for acceptance or not. So we can add back in explicit ability to ask questions and answers. But really what we wanted to focus on when presenting this, it was not intended to forego any questions and answers, essentially.
I understand. So
Back
could
in.
there be a footnote maybe? So it's not part of the, or could it be, this does not preclude, like something in brackets, just because when you see it like this with that crossed out,
Sure.
for me, it implied that you're not allowed to ask questions for
Sure.
information. So that was my concern on 5.12.9, but I do agree. So the whole concept of receipt is gone, but because you have items for information here, oh, maybe that's where you can put it in the definitions. If you have a definition of information items,
Mhm.
you could say they are included for information only, and following the business of the board or the motions or whatever, trustees are able to ask questions for clarification. Maybe you could handle it that way by putting it in definitions.
Thank you.
Just a thought.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll take back the chair. And Debbie, D, or Dennis, any comments?
Yeah, it's D, Trustee
Thank you.
Williams here. Sorry, am I speaking at the same time as someone?
No, please go
Okay.
ahead. You're on. It's your floor.
Yeah, I appreciate staff looking at this for clarity. For me, it also speaks to transparency. Like even if those items are included in an agenda package for information only, like the clear opportunity, or that it includes opportunity for questions, comments, is important just for transparency of the system.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Trustee Arts, for joining. We are on 5.12.9 in reviewing the bylaws. Anything else? Seeing none, please carry on.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next revision that was made after last Bylaws Review Subcommittee discussion is Section 5.12.17, celebrating board activities at board meetings only. We believe that the committee agreed with 10 minutes per item limit to celebrations.
I believe that's right. Any comments on that, colleagues? Seeing and hearing none, please carry on.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't think we have any new
Anything else
revisions
in five?
in this section 5. Yeah.
Through you, Trustee Williams, I'm going to pass the chair to you this time. I have a question on 5.14 about voting. When it says 5.14.3, a member except the chair who is present, is that the chair of the board or the chair of the committee? That's my first question. And then it says if the chair abstains from voting, I had no idea we had had anything in our bylaws about chairs abstaining from voting. If anybody didn't vote, it was an automatic no. So I'm asking where that 5.14.3, if I could just get clarification. Obviously, it was in the bylaws before, the chair changed from voting, but I've never seen a chair abstain from voting. So I'm wondering if we should have the ability for a chair to abstain from voting. And I'm wondering if the clarification of that is that the chair of the committee, because it says a member except the chair. And I was just confused if that's the chair of the board or the chair of the committee. Because this just says voting.
Through you, Madam Chair, we'll have to reconfirm with Denise Joseph Dowers. I believe definition of chair applies to both committee chair and board chair. So when the term chair is used, it could be both.
I wonder if that just needs to be clarified. And then again, for my colleagues, I don't know if it's never happened. I'm just interested in your, did you know, because you have chaired committees, did you know that you can abstain from voting as chair?
I was not aware.
Through you,
No.
Madam Chair, I was not under the impression that we had an option to abstain. It was either voting for or against, in favor or not in favor.
Right, and if one didn't vote, it was an automatic no. So, I mean, my preference is to remove that. But it's obviously, if, does anybody want to keep it in, I guess? Maybe I'll ask it that way. I'm not hearing, so maybe staff can, please go ahead.
Through you, Madam Chair, perhaps staff or governance could clarify what the purpose of an abstention would be. Like, what purpose does it serve?
Madam Chair, if we could take this away and look at it. I think
Thank-
it's a safeguard for, there's a reason for it being there, but if we could take it away and examine.
Absolutely, please, please, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, please carry on if there's,
Thank you, Madam Chair. I believe, based on my records, we do not have any additional revisions made after the last,
5.15.
yeah, in section 5 and in section 6.
Okay, if I can pass the chair this time, I'll pass it to Trustee King. 5.15.2 about motions, including notices of motion, will be reviewed for consistency. I appreciate that. Is there any timeline required for that? Because there are timelines for other things in here, like up to 5 days, special meetings, for example. I'm wondering if there should be timelines. And I've also looked at the template, and I think the template has to be much clearer. So for now, I'm just asking about consideration of if staff have thought about timelines for 5.15.2. Through you, Madam Chair, to staff.
Through you, Madam Chair, definitely we'll look into that and we'll make recommendations.
Thank you very much. Do you want to deal with the template itself now or wait? Through you, Madam Chair, to staff. Because there is a template that's been included.
Through you, Madam Chair, I believe so.
So my comments on the template, which is on in the appendix, the agenda page 63. I think obviously the timeline of when it has to be in and those needs to be on it. The other thing is there are 3 whereas clauses here. I'm wondering if there needs to be something that says best practices, not more than 3 whereas clauses or something. And then where it says therefore it be resolved, I wonder if there needs to be just 2 choices before you get into A, B, and C, that the director is one choice or that the chair is the second choice. Because we do get into some difficulty sometimes when it's we direct staff to or whatever. So it just might help to clarify that there's really only 2 actions. We either ask the director to do something or ask the chair to do something. And then the A, B, C, etc. So those were my comments on the template. Through you, Madam Chair, I'll take the chair back if my colleagues have any other comments on the motion template that's on agenda page 63 or 5.15.2.
Through you, Madam Chair, I think having is something like a little note, around best practices and the number of whereas makes sense. With the therefore be it resolved, those that you've mentioned could be appreciated as examples that the director consider, that the chair, et cetera, et cetera. But just, for example.
Right, but would there be any other, be it resolved beyond asking the chair or the director? I can't think of one. Maybe I'm mistaken.
The board just directs the director or the chair.
that was my thinking, that it simplified it. Can you think, Trustee Williams, can you think of what else would be there?
No, I can't think of anything else
Right,
that would be
it
there.
could say that the director consider, the director write a letter, the director, it could have more examples of actions, I guess, to make things easier for trustees.
And through the chair, I just want to remind trustees that at the beginning of the year and a new board, we have a whole session on writing a motion that we go through with trustees. So maybe a refresher course, a refresher session would be, about writing an effective motion that is offered by our staff.
Right, and maybe it could link to that professional learning. That might be really helpful. Thank you, Trustee Williams. Any other comments on that section?
No,
For you,
that's it.
Chair, sorry.
Please, Trustee King.
I'm assuming Trustee Williams is done.
Oh, I'm sorry. Trustee
Yes.
Williams.
Thank you. Thank you. That's it for me.
Okay,
Thank
sorry. Through you, Madam Chair, I'm wondering if maybe you can actually help clarify, because I think part of what we were trying to get to was arriving at a bit of a process that would provide more consistency for motions being submitted, and would also take care of some of the administratively making sure it was in order and some of that, those tasks before it comes to the floor. And I'm just wondering if, in your opinion, if we are addressing that, or if this is really just more of a sample of what the final motion looks like. And I also take Ms. Joseph Dower's points about the professional development as another opportunity.
Well, I think the actual clause itself, forget the template for a minute, but the actual clause itself makes it clear about motions need to be provided on a template. We just have to add a timeline. So I do think that it does accomplish what we hoped for, which is not on the fly motions written, and then staff wouldn't have had an opportunity to go through it. We don't know if it's, in order because there could have been a previous motion on the books, or it's not possible, or it's more operational. So I do think as it is now, it does, but I do think, and thank you, Ms. Joseph Dowers, for reminding us. I completely forgot that you do a session on writing motions and effective motions, etc. So I do think, I think there's something in the bylaws that makes requirement that it has to be on a template. It has to be passed by staff first. I just think that will help clean up a lot of what goes on. So, but I don't think it has to be so specific as to feel hamstrung, because that professional learning session would provide that. So I personally feel that it does accomplish what we set out to accomplish, Trustee King.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate just hearing your perspective as well.
Trustee Williams, is that a legacy hand?
To you, Madam Chair, just another thought on the
Please, please go ahead.
So I don't know where it could be on the template, just an indication, the title of the motion to be succinct and to the point, something along those lines that's relevant. I'm just saying this to give this more context to why I'm saying it. That's relevant to the purpose of the motion. So succinct, the title to be as short and succinct as possible. And with regard to the mover seconder piece, sometimes motions are made on behalf of someone. Maybe that on behalf of could be like an optional piece.
Perfect.
After seconder.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you.
But I think the whole point of having this template is that, I might write something that I think is masterful, and then it goes into governance services, and based upon their experience and wisdom, they've changed it. And that's part of, we're adding work because we're making it clear that it needs to be looked at. On the other hand, I think that's where all the succinctness, I mean, we can ask people to be succinct, but I do think we will rely on the professionalism of our governance services staff to ensure it's clear and it's it's appropriate, I guess is the best way to put it.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Okay.
And if I
Pardon,
may,
please.
and if I may add, and I guess this is where having a timeline on it, because when we get motions like 5 minutes before an item is to be discussed, it's difficult to then, help frame it a little better.
Correct. And it's also notices of motion, and sometimes they may not, I mean, this is where I guess staff needs to discuss, but I think the expectation, when I first became a trustee, there was never an expectation that you put in a notice of motion and it would automatically appear at the next meeting. It fit into the work of the board, and staff would know at least 3 months in advance which reports were coming, what was staff's priority work, etc. So now it seems like the expectation is you put in a notice of motion and it's automatic that staff have to work on it. So I think that that's a question for staff to also work on. You can put in a notice of motion, but the timeline really should depend on the work of staff, unless it's related to or arising from. But if it's brand new work, I guess my question for staff to consider is the advice that you would need to give us. And maybe some of it's too late for the way we do things now, but you need, I think a year in advance of the election, you should be already thinking about orientation and the kinds of things that go into purposeful orientation to help trustees do the best possible job they can do on behalf of their communities. And motions is a very big part of that. Some trustees never make a motion in 4-year terms, and other trustees, make a lot of motions. So it really depends, but the purpose of a motion and making it clear to us what the ongoing work is and the priority work as per the multi-year strategic plan, I think is also a really important piece that sometimes isn't talked about, but we need to hear it. Section 6, Governance and Accountability Framework.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't believe we made any additional revisions to this section after last meeting.
Any trustees have any comments on section 6? I did not have any. I'm seeing and hearing none. Then thank you. That's a miracle. Sorry. Mr. Vitale, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The draft report was for approval, and it seems that we have some work to do. So with that, perhaps the committee can refer it back to staff to finalize.
Thank you very much. Trustee Williams, Trustee King, would one of you like a motion to refer it back to staff?
I can move.
Thank
I'll
you very
second.
much, Trustee Williams, seconded by Trustee King. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And thank you, staff. This is great work. And maybe we can think about before we end today to schedule a meeting that when the next meeting should be. Obviously, we want it to be before the next Governance and Policy Committee, so we can move these items forward.
Through the chair, given the very light agenda in the September Governance and Policy Committee, it is possible it might not proceed on mid-September, whatever the date is.
Except that I don't mind that it's a light agenda if all we're doing is this work, to be honest with you.
Through the chair, I would
Anyway.
highly recommend if we are able to finalize as a recommendation from this committee to GPC in time, that will be more than enough time for us to be able to.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you. Well, you would work with the chair of Governance and Policy, who I think is on the line. So that would be great. Thank you. So we're now on to our next item, which is revisions to the delegations. Mr. Plotnikoff, or sorry, Associate Director.
Thank you. And through the chair, our favorite topic sometimes. So you'll see at the start of the draft, we've changed the title, just like we did with the electronic meetings, just to better reflect what this is all about. Because it's not just about delegation. The original procedure also talked about the conduct of attendees, members of the public attending the meeting. So we want to just make that clear. And so we'll proceed with that. I know there's a community advisory committee definition there. I'm just trying to remember if that was taken from another procedure or policy and added to here. So because the policy refers to, or sorry, the procedure refers to CACs, we thought adding that would be good. We just refined the definition of delegation because.
So if you're following, there is a presentation that is
Thank you.
on the screen. If you're following, and the staff is going through the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Member of the public the definition has not changed. I think I'm not sure if we refined it or we want to make it defined. Sorry, there are so many changes between the bylaws and the delegation procedure, but the definition in and of itself has not changed. Okay.
And you've highlighted that. Thank you.
Thank you. Special meeting means a meeting of the board, PPC, or a standing. That's not part of the regular schedule.
Yep.
And then standing committee defined.
Thank you.
Okay.
Does anyone, did you want to go through the presentation and then do the red line, or do them simultaneously? It's completely up to you, staff.
Through the chair, perhaps what we can do is take a section by section approach, albeit we've done 1 to 5.
No problem. So colleagues, we're now on it's agenda page 69, but we've really talked about pages 1 through 4 of the procedure. Does anyone have any comments on, this is really about definitions, responsibility, application, and scope. We're not on procedure yet. Any questions or comments? Seeing and hearing none, please carry on.
Thank you. We have the next, sorry, Ella, if we can go to the next slide. So we have presented a few options here for the committee to consider further, and the scope of delegations. Status quo is members of the public may request on an item that's on the agenda or a mandate of the committee. So you'll see in the actual body of it, the best way to remember is the items in bracket, option 1, both agenda item and mandate. That's the status quo. Option 2, only the agenda item would we entertain a delegation. Option number 3, of course, a delegation on agenda item, but we can entertain delegations on beyond the agenda item that's within mandate, but in writing only. That way you still have the ability to hear from members of the public on other matters that are not covered by the agenda.
Thank you very much. On that, let's stop. And colleagues, does somebody want to put through a motion that they prefer? An option rather, sorry. Or speak to an option that they prefer? Any hands up?
Through you, Madam Chair, could the
Thank you,
slides,
Trustee Williams. Please go
No.
ahead.
could the slides with the options please be projected and also emailed to us? It's just easier for me to see.
Well, it's on page 4 of your agenda. Agenda package, page 72. The options are there. This is taken right from the agenda. Do you have that in front of you?
I have it in front of me.
Thank you. So it's 6.1, and there's option 1, option 2, and option 3, which is exactly the same as the slide on the screen. Trustee King, please go ahead while Trustee Williams is revising.
Thank you, Chair. So of the options here, my preference is for option 2, for the reasons previously discussed, managing time, managing meetings. I'd like to stay to the agenda items. I like the opportunity to address something within the mandate, but not necessarily in the way that's been presented in option 3. I think if there is a submission by writing only, there's a loss of opportunity for the item to have public awareness if it's something that's only going to be in writing and received by trustees and not spoken to. So I would prefer option 2, but I'm still very much liking the idea of having a separate meeting somewhere along the year that allows for other items outside of agenda, but within mandate to be discussed or at least shared.
Please go ahead.
Through the chair, amongst the survey responses, one of the ideas, I believe, was to have a meeting, like a town hallish type of meeting, whatever the frequency is, on it could be open mic or some certain topics, and that you don't need to have a committee convene in order to do so. So quorum it might not be an issue in order to hold the meeting. And that might be a different way of being able to hear from members of the public on certain topics. And I would highly recommend that this open mic approach be actually not so open. It really needs to be managed in a way that's effective for the board. So that's something that was raised as an idea by one of the people who filled out the survey.
Trustee King, anything further? So your preference is option 2.
Option 2, provided that there is another opportunity for other items to come forward some way along the year.
Okay, Trustee Williams, do you have an opinion before I pass the chair?
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. As suggested, option 2 with that provision for, opportunities throughout the year. But I like the idea of option 3 as well, because it allows for the hearing of oral delegations on an agenda item, but also an opportunity to submit that written submission in the scope of the mandate. But option 3 is in brackets, in writing only, agenda item, mandate in writing only. Okay, I guess what's in brackets does describe it briefly.
Right. It's not what it actually, yeah. You got it.
It was a little bit confusing. But,
no problem.
But option 3 for me addresses the concerns that I had with keeping the agenda focused and the delegations focused on the agenda items in front of us, but having opportunity for folks to still submit those written delegations relevant to the mandate. So preference is option 3, but flexible to option 2 as was suggested.
We all want to get along. If I can pass the mic to Trustee King this time. My preference, I understand option 2 absolutely, but I don't think anything is lost by going with option 3. I think it does make it more inclusive. Those written delegations become part of the minutes of the meeting. So they are clear. And then to pick up though, I do like the idea of a quarterly or a term or bi-monthly conversation with trustees, however we want to phrase it, town hall, open mic. I think it would need, as you say, some structure put around it. But I wonder if there could be a footnote or a caveat that says TBD or, an opportunity to address committees or address the board or however what is in development quarterly, bi-monthly, however, whatever staff thing is appropriate wording, just to capture Trustee King's thought and the thought of this committee and to honor the survey requests. But I'm wondering if Trustee King, you can live with option 3 as our preferred option to go forward with that footnote or caveat.
I would just have one question of clarification. The delegations that are submitted in writing only, are they in fact included in public minutes?
No, they share the trustees. Just the name and the topic, not the actual written submission, but they share with all trustees as part of their package.
So it's important to me that in some form or another that whatever is getting submitted is public. So whether that's the full delegation then that becomes part of the minutes, or whether I default to my preference really being number 2 for that reason.
So if I can just clarify, the name and the subject is recorded
In the minutes.
in the minutes, Trustee King.
So what I'm suggesting is I feel that it's important that if there is a written delegation that is not part of the agenda but part of the mandate, I believe there should be some kind of public reflection of the delegation. So whether that's as part of the minutes in writing or whether it's another opportunity to present it orally.
I think staff are looking quizzical about that, so maybe we could just take that back and see if there could be a summary or a paragraph or something. Associate Director Pon.
Through the chair, I just have a question for Denise Joseph Dowers. For the individuals who attend in person or electronically and orally delegate, what do we record in the minutes? Just their name and
Name and topic.
topic?
Mhm.
So I would probably recommend we don't do anything more for written delegations than we do for oral delegations. We keep it consistent.
Trustee King, your thoughts on that?
I think the intent of my point still stands, but I'm open to, if there's a little bit more thought on it. It doesn't have to be resolved in this moment.
Perfect. Thank you.
And through the chair, if I can just add, board forums are your opportunities as well to hear. And if there's a joint board forum, again, that's an opportunity to hear from multiple sectors. So anyways, I just want to reiterate that there are multiple opportunities for members of the public to be able to submit their thoughts on something that's beyond the agenda. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Director Latouche is in the room and he would like to make a comment.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. I hear the intent behind having a town hall type meeting, and I think that would certainly be helpful in managing the business of the board during committee meetings. In respect of delegations, just noting as well that would require another meeting. So thinking about trustee attendance and certainly staff involvement and support around that, and wondering how to think about if we're looking at each committee having potentially a quarterly meeting, just as an example, then that would be a cycle of new meetings each quarter. And so as a takeaway, may want to give some thought to if you go with, let's call it an open mic with structure type of a forum, a town hall type forum, then perhaps it's a forum where all committees with as many trustees as possible in attendance might hear from their public, as opposed to each committee having their own. And I just would want to underscore as trustees are thinking about structures to support the board effectively conducting its business in committee and in board, the need in going forward for there to be consideration of that structure. So I know it's been stated, but just think it's really important.
Thank you. So we expect then staff might come back with some ideas or some feedback about what could be managed. Thank you. Anything further on this, or we'll move now to 6.1.5, which also has a couple options.
For you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Trustee Williams.
Just a brief point on the item we were just discussing, just for staff.
Please.
just for staff's consideration. It's come up in some of the CAC meetings I've been in around those written delegations being posted. I think the whole intent here is for transparency, of the input and feedback that we're getting through delegations. So just for consideration by staff, if there's some mechanism of doing that.
So the comment is for oral delegations, they're recorded. So they're
Mhm.
part of the minute package, even though we only have the name and the title. But for written, it's just the name and the title. And because they're written, they never appear anywhere.
Exactly.
So your thought is maybe some consideration to adding it into the agenda as opposed to the minutes, or just if staff have some other ideas about how we could be transparent. If they are in the agenda,
I'm corrected. The written submissions are included in the agenda package.
that's what I thought. I thought they were recorded.
Yeah, in the delegations package, yeah.
But there is on agendas, there is a delegation subject line. It could go there on the agenda, but not in the minutes.
Remember, the agenda goes out before.
Right, but you can revise the agenda, so at least it's online if somebody wants to go back to it and look at. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't be debating with staff here. I will leave it in your capable hands.
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair. I really intended for staff to take that away for consideration.
Wonderful.
Because there
Thank
could
you.
be various options of achieving the same goal that are very procedural or administrative.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Oh, blank screen.
And through the
Are you still there, folks?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. I just can't see you.
Madam Chair.
Oh, yes. Trustee Arts, please go ahead.
I know, so I'm fine with option 3, but I just from some other boards, some concerns came up about written delegations, and some people that have been shifted to written delegations, and I actually honestly don't know what we do with them. So some boards have grappled with people sending delegations that then don't, like written ones, that then don't adhere to the board's code of conduct or human rights. And I think we've heard about those legal cases where the boards then made a decision not to hear those delegations word for word in public, or hear them in public, because they don't want to give a platform for hate or discrimination. But I'm
So that's another
Actually,
thing for staff to
state that.
consider.
Yeah. So, we'll accept delegations in writing, and here are the criteria that they have to adhere to.
Right.
And I don't know, maybe some conditions for not posting or redaction.
Right. I think those are very good points. There should also maybe be a word limit as a thought. But thank you for this. We'll look forward for staff coming back. Director?
Thank you. And just building on through the chair, building on Trustee Art's comments. One consideration in taking this back is for delegations that are presented orally in the meeting, there's the opportunity to ask follow-up questions that can perhaps correct the record on something that may have been stated, add some clarification and so forth. Whereas in writing, there isn't necessarily that ability to do that. And so when a recording is posted, it's posted with that
comment.
context, right?
Could be a comment from the chair of the committee. added to
Correct.
it.
Correct. So just a note and
No,
in the think
perfect.
about. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving, I'm just a little bit mindful of time. I don't mean to be rushing us, but I'd like to at least make one pass through.
Thank you. I should go through 6.1.4. Although it's not on the slide, it's important that you are aware
Please.
of something we are proposing. So you would have seen how we have folks who have deputed at committee meetings on the same topic, but slightly adjusted in order to use essentially to be able to depute, but the subject matter is slightly different, albeit ultimately it's the same thing. So what we've changed here and proposed for discussion or consideration is that in-person delegation may be made to each committee, so they can depute at the different committees once a year, let's say, and leave it at that. In the past, it allowed multiple delegations within a year if the subject hasn't changed, if the subject's different. And unfortunately, we have seen some misuse of that.
Gotcha.
And so this is why we are proposing 6.1.4.
Any comments on that, colleagues? Seeing and hearing none, we'll go to 6.1.5, the options.
Okay. Option number 1, open to members of the public, and that's our current approach, and we've defined members of the public. Option number 2, it can be open to others who are not, as we define, members of the public, but if they are residents of the City of Toronto, they can provide something in writing for your consideration. Again, all in the name of trying to make sure we can get to the business of the board in a timely fashion, but still have the ability to hear from those who may not be within the definition of member of the public. Remember, the definition, really, you need to have a TDSB tie
Right.
in. So that's what
Thank
we
you.
want to share.
Comments on options 1 or option 2? Who would like to go first? Please just go ahead. Not hearing anybody? I will go for it. I actually prefer option 1. I don't think anyone that's not associated with the board should have a say in the business of the board. That's just my personal, and I'm happy to hear from others.
Our definition, sorry, through you, Chair. Our
Please.
definition of member of the public also included organizations or folks that
Correct.
serve. Yes, okay, then I'm good.
Correct. Trustee Williams, anything else? Otherwise, I think we're landing on option 1.
Yeah, thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. Yes, I did go back and have another look at the definition for members of the public. And yeah, I'm satisfied with option 1.
Thank you very much. Please go ahead.
Thank you.
Associate Director.
Please take a look at 6.1.7, not on the slide, but we just clarified about members of the CAC who wish to depute in front of a committee as a community member, but not as part of the CAC. So it gives them more opportunity and just
Perfect.
clarifies what their role will be when they do come before.
I think we're all
Okay.
supportive of that.
Thank you.
Oh,
Madam Chair.
okay.
Sorry.
Please, Trustee Arts, please go ahead.
Thank you. This came up at the last GPC meeting. There were some people who listed themselves as TDSB community that we then, like, one is clearly said in their delegation that they live in Europe, and another who's just from online profile whose children attend school in York region. And so it was, I'm not sure how we're verifying TDSB community. So like we floated around some, like including your postal code or that you are a parent at a school, that sort of thing.
Associate Director wishes to respond.
Through the chair, our definition of members of the public is actually quite narrow. It's not open. What has happened, unfortunately, is we have allowed those who are not considered members of the public to depute. So I think if we were to reinforce the vetting of those who are submitting a request, one thing you'll see later on, more so on disruptive behavior is that there is a possibility of, if it's significantly serious, that they can be removed from being able to depute. But I don't recommend that at this particular case. I think what we should be doing is reinforcing our existing definition of member of the public.
Are you good with that, Trustee Arts?
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Please carry on.
Okay. 6.2.1 and 6.2.2, there's not significant change. It's just wording clarification.
Anyone have any comments on those? No.
Okay. We reinforce in 6.2.6 that delegates can only delegate on the subject that's on their request form. That has been an issue in the past where they submit
On one thing
something
and
for
delegate.
approval and then they come and speak on something else. So we'll get to later on about how to deal with that. The rest, I just want to make sure the rest are relatively minor. I just want to be mindful we need to hit some pretty important pieces here.
Yep, please go ahead.
6.3, I'm just going to move forward again, changing the titles so that we're covering meeting attendees, even those who are not delegating, and updating. So we have a slide there as well. If you can move it forward, maybe one or two. 6.3.2. We added and updated the list of bullet points to align closely with what we're doing now. So displaying signage and placards, again, not just delegates, but members of the public. We want to make sure that delegates who try to discuss personal information about staff, students, or community members, that's not appropriate for a delegation. So we made that clearer in this the bylaws. And as I mentioned earlier, discuss topics outside the approved delegation. So this hopefully will provide a clearer set of rules so that when the chair of the committee is managing delegations, at least we can point to one of these in order to determine who will be speaking.
Thank you.
Okay. 6.3.3, I just expanded this a little bit in case there is a violation of our respect in the workplace policy, human rights policy, and so on, not just the delegation procedure. Here, for your debate, please, 6.3.3, in serious cases, the meeting delegate may be removed from the meeting, and in serious cases may be prohibited from providing oral delegation at future meetings. This is oral and electronic, sorry, in-person electronic, and I added here the chair's decision is final to help expedite the decision-making in the delegations, because again, time needed for board business. Can we stop there to seek input?
Are there any comments on that? I have no comments. Trustees Williams, Arts, Hastings, and King,
Through you, Madam Chair.
please.
The no display of signs and placards. I know folks can be creative and the signage can be like literally
T-shirts.
on their body. Like
Yeah,
exactly.
T-shirts.
I don't know if we want to go there, if that's too prohibitive.
I think that might be Trustee Williams,
Yeah, okay.
unless it's hateful, right? Like then it would fall.
Exactly. Okay,
Right.
okay.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Through you, Madam
Trustee
Chair.
Arts? Yeah.
Thank you. Maybe we could take a look at how it's worded for other levels of government. I know when you go to the legislature here, you can't have anything. You can't have anything on your shirt. You can't have a pin. You can't have even oh my goodness, what did I have on? Organ donation, little ribbon on my jacket. And I had to take that off.
Okay,
I think
staff
there's a range, and there's definitely much more strict ones at other, I think there's a range that we could look at as what's the practice.
Thank you. Staff will look at that.
Through the chair, we'll just take a look at 6.3.4 to see if we can add something in there about professional, respectful So just broaden that. 6.3.5. Sorry, I want to make sure we're able to go on.
Yep.
Oh, I had my hand up for 633.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry, Trustee King. I didn't see it. Please go
No,
ahead.
That's okay. I was just wondering about the extreme of prohibiting someone from being able to delegate in future and the chair having full final discretion and decision on that. I just wonder about the possibility of I don't want to say being abused, but there is some subjectivity and a very final decision there. So I just wonder about that.
Through the chair, I agree. It is relegated for the most serious circumstances. How that's defined, we haven't defined it because we want to leave the discretion with the chair. However, the chair of the committee meeting needs a tool to be able to deal with individuals who we know may disrupt or cause harm. It is very critical, and we also have obligations under occupational health and safety where staff are involved and there may be harm to staff. So this was a way in order for the chair of the meeting to manage the meeting, just like a judge would be able to manage the courtroom as they see fit. If there are provisions to deal with that, let's say instead of one person making a decision, whether it's the committee, that's something I would leave to this committee to consider further and make recommendations on how a decision like that could be arrived at.
Okay, colleagues, I'm just checking the time, and I know I have a hard stop at 5:30. There are a few other things that I think will deserve conversation, which is about delegations by staff, and then of course the time allotment and the committee discussion. So respectfully, I'm wondering if we could pause here and set another meeting time, and staff will send out some survey to committee members about what might work towards the end of August, beginning of September. I'm not quite sure on the committee's plans in terms of their vacation days or if they're back the end of August. I know there's the one hold the date that we've been sent already about coming back. So I leave that up to staff to survey us. And I really just appreciate, are we going to recess this meeting? I guess we could recess this meeting and then just come back to it, because there's, if a colleague would like to move that.
I can move. Trustee Williams.
Thank you very much, Trustee Williams, seconded by Trustee King.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. And thank you again very much to staff, and thank you for this great work. And we're almost there. Motion to adjourn? No, we don't need that. We've just recessed. Thank you all.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Have a great rest of the day. Bye.